Hello guys and welcome to my new video. There's some exciting news, guys. The new expansion, Dragonflight, has been announced and there's been a lot of things to be excited about. At least I'm cautiously optimistic about a lot of the features. There's a lot of things that I think Blizzard has done really well in the last half a year, 6 months or something. So I feel if they keep the same mentality, it's going to be, let's say, I'm hopeful. But one of the big features that they announced, and besides the new class, besides the new, hype and feel of dragons, was Talon System. Bringing back, this kind of resembles like the artifact system in Legion, but in a much more convoluted and interesting way. So this is the Resto Druid tree, this is the Balanced Druid tree, and these are the only kind of pictures we have right now. So there's a lot of what if, how does it work, how do the points work. I'm assuming this is the PvP talents. So first, I wanted to showcase the fact that there is two trees, and I wanted to make a video about this. This is the Druid points available right here, and you can see the Resto or Restoration points available. So this is what I'm assuming is going to be the base talent points, and any Druid spec can have anything in here. And as you can see, all of the talents on the left side are the same for Balanced Druid as they are for Resto Druid. The only difference is that once you go to the right side, you start seeing, oh hey, this is the spec-specific talent tree. So if you're a Resto Druid, you can pick all of these kind of goodies here. And I'm assuming the icons here, this is the Trank, this is the Nature Swiftness, these are kind of coming by default with your spec. So if you go to Balanced Druid, you'll get Starfall, you get CA. I think these talent trees could be really interesting. Now, I know there's a lot of hopium, copium here, all those things. Talent trees at the end of the day, for majority of people, they're just gonna read a guide and the talent tree is gonna tell you go this way for Resto Druid. In terms of generic Druid talents, go this way, and everyone's just gonna follow the min-max type of thing. But if Blizzard balances these talents in such a way that you can all of a sudden be like, okay, there is a viable, let's not say best, but a viable way of optimizing your Resto Druid that's gonna provide more survivability, more DPS, more healing throughput, and you might have 3 or 4, maybe more ways of building a druid based on a situation. And I think if they achieve that, that would be a pretty, in my opinion, it'll be a pretty cool thing. So straight away, you'll notice all these different talents in the druid, let's call it the basic, and this is the spec. So this is the basic talent tree, and you can get all of these things, like you can get scenario ward, which I feel is really weird because you can get scenario and ward, and then you can also get it in the Resto tree, which I'm assuming is going to increase the effectiveness. So you could be a Balanced Druid. In this case, you can be a Balanced Druid with Scenario and Ward, which sounds pretty cool. You can be a Balanced Druid with Wild Growth, which you can't do it based on your affinities right now on live servers, but I think it's pretty nice. What really kind of caught my eye, if you go back to Resto Druid one, is that you can get Skull Bash. So you can see here in this specific tree, this person went into the... in order to get Skull Bash, and they're playing Resto Druid. So what is Skull Bash? I don't play Resto Druid, I have no idea, just to showcase what it is. So if you're a Guardian Druid, and here this is my Resto Druid turned to Guardian Druid, you'll know by default you'll get Skull Bash, which is basically a 15-second charge / interrupt, which can be used both in Feral Affinity and Guardian Affinity. Or Feral form and Guardian form. I keep saying affinities because I'm playing Resto too much, but you can use Skull Bash to basically charge the person and interrupt them. Imagine using this as a Restoration Druid in a Mythic Plus dungeon where all of a sudden something like MadSkillz interrupt. And you can do it as a healer in that situation. Does that mean every single healer is going to get an option of an interrupt or an ability that gives an interrupt? Something to think about, because this is going to create... Again, what if? Is this gonna happen? But this would create a lot more equal playing field, because Resto Shaman right now has the monopoly in an interrupt in terms of healers. And again, Resto Shaman, one of the biggest utilities in an interrupt. What's gonna happen in the next expansion if every healer is going to have an ability to provide an interrupt? Let's go back to the talent tree. So besides that, you can look at some of the icons and be like, okay, exciting. Basically, this is almost like a Feral Affinity. This is kind of like a Guardian Affinity type of thing. And there's a lot of different talents you can see here. Sunfire. I'm assuming that that's not going to actually give you Sunfire, but it's actually going to improve Sunfire, because it'll be weird not to have Sunfire or spec out of Sunfire. But I guess there is a lot of possibilities here. You can see here Innervate, what looks like an Innervate. But if you play Resto Druid, there's also an Innervate icon, which could possibly mean that you can improve the power of Innovate in the same way that you have Iron Bark. You can also spec into a more improved Iron Bark, which seems really cool. You can see a lot of different returning abilities from your Covenants. This is Convoke, and I think a lot of Resto Druids out there are happy to see Convoke being back. But besides that, this looks like Circle of Life and Death Legendary. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like it. So there seems to be some of the legendaries coming back in terms of talent choices. And again, this is not finished. There's going to be a lot of different things changing, but you can already see some weird combinations. And again, there's another thing that I want to showcase. At the very bottom of these talents, you'll see these abilities like Heart the Wild. I'm not quite sure what this is yet. You can let me know in the comments, but you can see here what looks like to be Fury of Elune. And this is in the default Guardian or default Druid spec. So I'm assuming if you go all the way down this tree, you could pick up Fury of Elune as a Restoration Druid. So if you invest enough points into this and try to get this ability, you could be dealing more damage. For the people who don't know what it is, let's just go and showcase it. So this is my balanced Druid, but again, this is Fury of Elune. In terms of the talent choices, imagine using this ability as a Restoration Druid. You're healing, you're using your rejuvenations, wild growths and all of that, and all of a sudden in Mythic Plus Dungeon, a big large trash back pull, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna pop this, and I'm gonna deal extra damage as a Restoration Druid, and all of a sudden the whole hybrid role of a healer dealing damage, which has really emerged in Shadowlands, is continuing in the next expansion. Are we going to see more hybrid roles emerging? Because from everything that I read, Blizzard is kind of embracing the hybrid role and embracing the fact that healers can provide damage, healers can spec into utility like an interrupt if they want to, and all of a sudden you can argue that these talent choices can be pretty meaningful if they're balanced correctly. And then the last thing I kind of want to showcase, if we go to the balanced Druid one, and you can see here the balanced Druid tree, you can see the PvP modes here as well, and you can see the loadouts. You can see the possible loadouts that you can have, and Blizzard kind of mentioned in some of the interviews that they're going to make it easier to swap, and look at the amount of different loadouts you could have. And Blizzard is expecting, or they're trying to provide, in my opinion, more complexity. Again, I am fully aware that it's probably going to be the best talent build for AoE, for single target, for survivability, for utility, for max HPS, max DPS, and all those things, PvP, but I do think that it's not Path of Exile type of talent system. Path of Exile is insanely convoluted. This is a simplified version of this, but if they provide enough choices in terms of utility versus throughput, like for example, like I talked about this, healer providing an interrupt versus losing 5% healing, would you do it? Would you pick an interrupt over doing 5% less DPS or healing? That's something to consider, and I honestly think that I'm, like I mentioned, cautiously optimistic about this. I actually really enjoy this type of system because I know they might look somewhat confusing at the start, but I do think that choice is a good thing. And I really, and honestly, this is the reason I'm making this video, I want to know what you think. This is really important to me because I think they're going the right way, but I am a type of person who enjoys healer damage. I'm a type of person who enjoys providing utility as a healer, you know, speccing into, like, the fact that I could get an interrupt sounds pretty awesome as a healer for me. The fact that I could increase healer damage sounds pretty good, especially in this day of age in Shadowlands, where I'm sure if you're a healer and you're playing any dungeons right now, your tank is doing more than... your tank might be doing as much damage as a DPS dealer. Your tank might actually be out healing you, and all of a sudden, healer's role in dungeons is more like, I don't know, fixing players' mistakes and DPSing when there's no healing needed. It doesn't feel that impactful in a lot of cases, at least in my opinion. So if you can actually pick whether you want to provide more utility or actually match players' DPS, maybe not match players' DPS, but do more DPS, I think it could be really cool. Really, let me know what you feel about this. Do you think Blizzard is going in the right direction? Let me know, and I'll see you in my next video.